gentlemen, welcome to the Best of Wrestling podcast with your host, CJ Price. Make sure to join us on Facebook, Best of Wrestling podcast. Just type it in, folks. Very easy. Give us a share, give us a like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now, Best of Wrestling podcast. Tonight, we have a very special guest, and his name is Duke Cornell. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing very well as well. And thank you so much for joining us here on Best of Wrestling Podcast. What's going on tonight, man?
Pretty relaxing night for the most part tonight. Nothing too wild. Just found a little bit of time for me, so I don't have to worry about making deals right now.
All right, all right. So I'm going to dive right into it. And this is my first question pretty much for every single person that comes on my podcast because everyone has a different answer. What's your first earliest memory of professional wrestling?
My first earliest memory, I would say, to really dig back, it would be Halloween Havoc with Jake Roberts and Sting for the Coal Miner's Glove. Spin the wheel, make the deal.
Okay,
I
that's a
thought that,
long time ago. 80s, correct?
yeah, that was quite a bit. My grandfather had a bunch of wrestling tapes, so I commandeered one that just sounded kind of interesting. I'd never heard of what was so special about a coal miner, or their gloves, I should say, and I was instantly hooked. I really loved that match for everything it was worth, and that's really what I kind of sunk my teeth in.
So who are some of your favorites growing up?
Growing up, digging back into the tapes, there would be Jake Roberts. I was a big Rick Rude fan. Mr. Perfect. Basically, if you came out of Robbinsdale, I was a fan of you. Scott Hall was another big one that I really enjoyed. Raven, Chris Jericho. Just in that generation, I think that was kind of everybody's favorite was Jericho. Uh, Guerrero, I really enjoyed. Benoit, Malenko, Barry Saturn, I felt was really underrated. But
I
yeah,
agree.
those were really kind of my bigger influences, the ones that I really enjoyed, making sure I went out of their way to watch everything.
All really good picks, and I agree with you with Mr. Perfect. He's my all-time favorite wrestler, man. He had a great gimmick, great promo skills, and even better wrestling skills. Nobody
Yeah.
can top him in his prime, man.
And Terry Funk. I can't forget Terry Funk.
A lot of people say Terry Funk. A lot of people say that.
He was
I
perfect.
gotta catch up with some of his younger matches when he was not a hardcore wrestler.
His technical work, it was there, but it was ugly. It was everything that embodied wrestling at that time, to where it was just men hitting men, and they made you feel. And Terry was great at making you feel. His hardcore stuff, obviously more memorable because with red equals green, and everybody paid to see Terry bleed. But once he was in there and he was actually plying his craft, he was very good, very. He's easily in my top two, if not my all-time favorite, is Terry Funk.
And if I'm not mistaken, is he still wrestling?
No, he's not right now. Last I had read, he's actually in a nursing facility. I believe that his memory is
Oh
starting to
yeah.
slip.
Yeah. I did read that, but I know Dory Funk is wrestling.
Yeah, Dory pops up every once and again. I'm not surprised if Terry pops up one more time in a six-man tag or something. He's not going to stay out until he can't get up. So
So let's get back on track on you, Mr. Cornell. For those people that are listening to us right now that don't know who you are, who is Duke Cornell and what's the character about?
well, the character it's evolved a lot through my 13 years here. So I started out as just as every young blue chipper, and when he's got something to prove, and you get the nice trunks, and you want to try and act like Randy Orton because that's what you do. That's what the upstart does, right? He's brash and he's showy, and everybody tries to be that next generation of that. And then as everything progressed and evolved, I actually started tagging with Brian Gott a little bit more, and we became the tag team of Guns and Beer. We embraced our Midwest roots a little bit more, and we became the hillbilly tag team everybody knew they didn't know that they needed. And it's definitely confusing to think about, but we ended up finding ourselves in a lot of situations where we definitely prospered a lot. And then after he had stepped away because too many injuries and he had some other personal issues he needed to handle, that's when I started going a little more solo, and that's where it came to the big elephant in the room. It was January of 2016 in Williston, North Dakota. It was negative 30 degrees with the wind out there. We
Wow.
were at a tag team street fight, and one of the guys, he had a screwdriver, and the ring that weekend, I don't know if it wasn't put together well or if it just had a vendetta for anybody that was in it. The board popped up when he was stepping at me, and I know he was coming for my head, so I tried to protect my head, but he slipped, and he actually got the screwdriver right on the side of my eye.
Wow.
And yeah, I was about that far from a free lobotomy. And fortunately, we didn't have any problems. There was no vision loss. There was just waiting for the muscle to heal around. And that's where the eye patch came in because I couldn't let the eye stimulate so the muscle could actually heal. They kind of treated it like they were putting in a fake eye, where you're not supposed to let the muscle move around too much until it really attaches onto everything. So we were waiting for everything to reattach. And I asked him, because I don't know any better, if you could still wrestle with it. And they said, you got to be really careful if you're going to do it. Knowing full and well, if they told me no, I was still going to find a way around. So they helped me figure out some precautions. And after everything was healed, this just kind of stuck. A lot of people paid attention after I got stabbed in the eye. There's a lot of messages I got. There was a lot of people that were up in arms about the safety of professional wrestling that year. There was a lot of concerns, and so we just stuck with this look because it resonated with people. And then the story was always something of a freak accident, so I didn't change a thing after that. So after Brian had stepped away and several other tag partners stepped away, I found myself at a crux where now I've leaned on so many people to go further with various tag teams, or I was in various cars with people where I was getting my opportunities. Now I had to make a deal for myself, and I didn't know who else to make a deal for and who else with, but go down to the crossroads and meet that man and make the deal. So I sold my soul, and now I walk very tall, very powerful, and on my own, and I don't regret a thing.
Okay, Mr. Cornell, thank you so much for that detailed explanation on who you are. And I want to ask you a question about your tag team name that you had when you first began, the Guns and Beer, you said, correct?
Yep.
Did you get any backlash on that name because of what's going on in the world nowadays? Plus, it's you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, when we were Guns and Beer, this was probably, we started doing that, I want to say 10 years ago. It was a different world 10 years ago, 2011, 2012. We kind of we're in the Midwest. There wasn't so much up in arms about everything with firearms and then alcohol. It was just two good old boys in the Midwest. It really just kind of resonated there. And any chance we had anywhere else, we went and worked for Quackenbush once. Mike Quackenbush, not the Chikara branch that he ran, but the other thing that was going on. And we did just two hillbillies for him there, and he really liked it. He had a good time watching us. So um, we didn't really play to too much of the gun avenue, and we weren't drinking while we wrestled. It was just we were two good old boys, and that's just kind of where we came from. We had our nines on our hips and a 12 in the cooler, and we were about to go win some tag titles. That was it. Yeah, then it wasn't so bad. And then for the years that we ran it, everything was okay. Up until just about 2017 when everything started to disband. And then, yeah, I kind of stuck with the the look here, where it was just kind of the Lone Ranger cowboy, and then eventually I piled together my crew of younglings into the snake pit and helped mold them, and I helped them sell their souls as well. So now they're in a good spot too.
Well, I just want to mention that we have no problems with guns, no problems with beer. We 100% support the Second Amendment, and we love to drink a beer or two nowadays. You know.
That's right. Yeah, it's the best way to unwind sometimes.
So, Mr. Cornell, you used to be in a tag team. Now you're a singles. What's your preference and why? And what's the difference between them?
With tag teams, you can actually pace yourself a little bit more because you have another guy where you can help build and tell the story and make sure everything goes according to plan. You have a little bit more news that is freely to discuss. You have all these other moving pieces where it can be simply a phenomenal piece of art, and it's absolutely wonderful when you do it right. But unfortunately, there's a fine line between a really good tag match and a really bad tag team match, and we were always more often than not on the good side of everything. There's a couple that got away from us, and there's some good stories there. But with tag team wrestling, it's wonderful. Singles wrestling, I like it because I have a little bit more control over it. When I tagged with Brian, I knew everything was in good hands because we worked on the same page. We kind of wrestled with the same brain. I knew what he wanted to do, and he knew what I wanted to do. But when it came down to singles, now it's I know exactly what I need to do and what needs to come next and where I need to be on things, and I don't have to worry about someone else getting lost because I can make sure I know where I'm at and we're not going to lose ourselves. As far as preference now I'd say I probably enjoy singles more than tag team, but for a better part of 13 years I really enjoyed tag team wrestling.
I always ask this question to people that were in a tag team because I would think being in a tag team would be better because you have to take less bumps.
Yeah, it definitely helps on that bump card, unless you're going really crazy, and then it didn't slow anything down anyway. But as far as everything where it comes to pacing and helping build something, it's nice to have another brain in the room, especially if it thinks like yours, and then might see something that you didn't. Um, but other than that, yeah, right now I'd say I'm in a big single swing, and I really enjoy it.
All right, so Mr. Cornell, you're backstage, right? And your match is up next. What's going through your mind before you step through that curtain, man?
This is a funny thing. We talk about this a lot. I don't know if you guys have dove into it at all, but there was an article that I had read to where Ric Flair actually has these kind of questions come up in his head, and right before he would start the match, and right before bells would ring, or before he even stepped through the curtain, and you might catch it, you might notice it next time you watch some of his matches. He'll tap himself on the back. Now, what that is it's him excusing Richard Fleer so Ric Flair could take over. Uh, we all have these little ticks, and it takes a second for us to realize what we're doing and why we're doing it. Like Mick Foley would listen to, I think he said show tunes. He'd be listening to Mary Poppins before he was going to go bleed everywhere. Um, right before I go out, I know I have my eye roll in the back of my head, and I tell myself that I'm the man and I got this. That's why when I get out there, that's one of the first things I scream is who's the man. And it's not because I'm trying to rip anybody off. It's just because I recognize myself as that.
Very good answer, and I love that, man. I love that attitude. So, speaking of being backstage, let's talk about backstage politics for a second. How do you handle that? How do you handle that pressure back there?
I just try and stay out of it the best I can. I know my body of work will always stand for me, that I know that I'm reliable. I can take a guy that's here and bring him here, or I can hang with the top stars. I don't sweat any of it. I think sometimes to play the political game in your favor, it might just show that you're a weaker player in the game and you have to go through other avenues to try and get what you feel you deserve. I just go out there and earn it every time. And if it comes to backstage issues where someone's got a problem with me, I just go right up the alley and I'm going to go talk to them. I'm not going to go bury them to the promoter to get my way or go scream at everybody that'll listen to me in hopes that it gets back to the right guy. Like, if we have a problem, I'm gonna go talk to you. I didn't grow up to think it's okay to go pussyfoot around. It's what you do. You just go talk to them. You squash it. If there's a real problem, there's a parking lot that's even further than the backstage, and you can guys go really solve it like real men. But if you're not that mad, then it's probably one of the pettiest things that is in existence, and it's just best to just go squash it.
That's a very good answer, man. I wish a lot of people thought like you, but unfortunately, in this business, we all know there's always going to be backstage politics and people trying to get into the booker's head. So, especially in the indies, where I believe shouldn't exist, the indies should be for everyone to try to elevate themselves to the next level, not to throw in politics here and there. You know what I'm saying? It's to try to get better.
I agree, and I think on the independent level, it's silly to try and do this where you're playing politics and playing games. There's a difference between selling yourself to the promoter and then also trying to play the game. There's selling yourself proves that you're valuable, proves that you're worth money. That's why it's called the sell, because you're worth the money. To sit and politic and boister and make sure that everyone else looks under you, that's playing the game. I want to be the guy where they look at me and go, I know he can bring up this guy to the next level. He can show him all these other things. Or we're bringing in a name. Duke's the guy we're going to use because we know Duke can hang. Duke will give them something worth talking about and worth their time. And we get them situated.
So sounds. Oh, your camera went out.
So,
There you go. There you go. So sounds like you've been in the ring with a lot of good talent. Any talents that we know that you have been in the ring with, and who was your favorite opponent?
so most recently, I had 25 minutes with Silas Young. That was back in February. And then before that, before COVID hit, I had matches with Madman Fulton, Sin Bodie, formerly known as Kazarni. Uh, let's see, other big names. I wrestled Tito Santana at a battle royal. I had the pleasure of working with Lanny Poffo, Tommy Dreamer. Yeah, I've had some pretty notable ones.
So did you pick any of their brains, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, everybody that I got a chance to sit down with, I could. Lanny was a little more ready to just get it over with, and then have a. He was ready to go have a good time with his friends because it was a big Legends convention. So he saw everybody that he knew. He just wanted to go have this match and then go hang out with his friends. I get it. I totally understand. Uh, Tito, um, we didn't really get to do too much. I sat and talked with him, and he liked my punch, so that was good enough for me. Bobby Eaton was a big fan of my punch too. Rest in peace, Bobby Eaton. Tracy Smothers was a big fan of my work. Rest in peace, Tracy. He was one of my mentors over here in the Midwest. He was a great man. Um, with Silas, we got to sit and talk, and he goes, we had a lot of really good stuff, but I think we just tuckered him out with having too much fun. So there was that to where we kind of got a gauge on that. And then with Madman, uh, he really liked everything. Didn't really have too much to say as far as critiques. Sin made the mistake of wrestling me because now I text him every other week and I ask him for advice on things. And he's like, "No, you're doing fine. What do you don't need to ask me this." I'm like, "No, I do." So Sin, I sat and I chatted with him a lot after that match. And I still bug him about that match every time. I'll go back and watch the match again. I'm like, so what were we thinking here? And it drives him up a tree, but he loves it at the same time. So,
So would you say that you're your own worst critic?
oh, absolutely.
I think every wrestler is their own worst critic, my friend.
Oh, yeah. It's a very self loathing business. So you're going to find something that you don't like about yourself. I go back and I watch this match with Silas, and him and I have talked about it at great length. And he's gone in and talked to a lot of people in my network to say that it was really good and he enjoyed it. And he's looking forward to the next round, whenever that might be. And I go watch it back and I go, I could have done that better. that probably sucked. He probably didn't like that, and they'll ask because I'll text him too and be like, "So what'd you think of that? Did you like that?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, everything's fine." And I'm like, "Well, hang on. Here's what I didn't like about it." Like, you need to shut up. It was fine.
I'm gonna bring back a classic to the podcast that I used to do a while back, and I want to do it with you, Mr. Cornell.
All
Are
right,
you are you ready for a challenge, my friend?
I'm up for it.
So the challenge is to cut a promo in character, 30 seconds on anything you want. Whenever you're ready, my friend.
On anything I want.
On anything. I can give you a subject if you would like.
Yeah, let's give me a subject here.
All right, you're wrestling Brock Lesnar at MSG.
Brock Lesnar at MSG. Okay. Time is but a poison that we all drink, and it's just a matter of time until we find our face at the end of the bottle. And we have to realize that not only is our time up, but the poison is won. Brock Lesnar, MSG, I see your reflection in the bottle. I see the note coming to you, and I have to warn you, you're not going to like the last swallow of it.
Not bad. Not bad at all. I like that. Short and sweet and to the point.
That's right.
So let's talk dream matches now. You talked about all those other guys that you've been in the ring with backstage and stuff. Do you have any names in mind that you want to get in the ring with potentially down the road?
Well, if there's a way we could ever make it work, I think something with Jake or Terry, that'd be great. Um, as far as wrestle. So I had dropped recently about 35 pounds. So now I'm back into the junior heavyweight zone, everything. And we like to do all the moves and everything crazy, right? So I would say probably Austin Aries would be one of my dream situations. Someone like I also grew up in the Ring of Honor big divisions. So, or the big, when everything was starting to bud. So, I mean, obviously Samoa Joe was on my list. A guy like Brian Danielson was on my list. Um, I would have loved to have wrestled Jerry Lynn when he was, he was doing better. I think I know I'd like a match with X Pac. That'd be great. Uh, yeah, I mean, probably a little more off the beaten path with dream matches. Uh, Another one with Silas Young, because that was a match that I'd been chasing for a better part of 10 years to get. I had a lot of empty promises from promoters. Sammy Callahan, because I like a good ugly fight, and Sammy really brings it. Yeah, I guess that's my list on the spot.
I can see some of those matches happening for you, man. And hopefully they do happen so I can watch them on YouTube or somewhere and I can just sit back with some popcorn and watch it. There goes your camera again.
Camera's not making a deal with me today. I don't
Not a
understand.
problem. No, it's okay, man. Not a problem. So my last question for you, Mr. Cornell. When it's all said and done, when you're done wrestling in the ring, are you gonna be done with wrestling altogether, or are you gonna contribute in some way when you come back, like a manager, an announcer, a referee, a trainer, anything? What are you gonna still be in the wrestling business in some capacity?
I would say I'll still be in wrestling. I enjoy this shit too much to walk away from it. Training, I've had a lot of fun with training. I brought in a lot of new guys and helped them mold. Guys like Brandon Nitro, Seto Kobara, Rich Maxwell, Lars Metzger, guys that I've really helped come along and then realize a lot with their potential and how to really placate to their strengths. I would say trainer, agent is a really good spot because then everyone can see your body of work and your vision, and then you don't even get hurt. So that's even better. Um, yeah, I don't think any of the other roles typically fit me too much. Maybe manager if I'm feeling feisty and want to be on camera, but I think when my time is done with all this fall down business, I think it's going to be time where I move aside and let anybody else do it, and I'll just help them learn how to do it and then mean more at the same time.
Sounds very good, and I can see that in that role as well. Especially if you already done it, you can do it again when your time is done in the ring. But I know you got a lot left in the tank, right?
I sure do. I got better than 20 years hanging on me. I mean, Terry's still
So,
gonna get up. He's gonna get out of the assisted living, and then he's gonna go have another match, and he's 75 or so. So I mean, I got by that proxy, I got about 40 years left on me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
all right. Any social media that you would like to plug, my friend?
Yep. Anything Copperhead Duke for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is Duke Cornell. I had a T-shirt site. I'm not even sure if it's around anymore after the What a Maneuver fiasco. Um, I better get working on that. Yeah, I mean that's all I have. I mean, otherwise, you try your luck with carrier pigeons, Pony Express, and smoke signals.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Best of Wrestling Podcast. We'll only get the best talent right here on Best of Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go check us out on Facebook, Best of Wrestling Podcast, with your host, CJ Price, and our very special guest, Duke Cornell. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.